Two.
Good. And here we are.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu. You're tuning into episode 66, also known as the live stream version, like the final live stream version of TLOY Talks, and like the final podcast for TLOY Talks for the year and all that. You know, I just want to thank everyone for like tapping in throughout this time and all that. Thank you for everyone for like checking in from the start until now and all that too. Like, and you know, for this one too, we're really gonna get us like started right here, like just with like this amazing conversation for a bit too. So we actually have like one of the rising like curators within like the local like music scene in Toronto and all that, and within the GTA in terms of like shows, in terms of events, in terms of like everything going on too and all that. They've worked with the likes of like Calvin Moon, Sofiacide, Rax, Spitty, much more too and all that. They're actually setting up a show like in New York City on December 16th with Sofiacide, and you know we have Zed Nights, also known as like Henry as well too. How are you doing today, man?
I'm killing it, man. Yeah, dude. You said we're gonna have an amazing conversation, so I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to put on our best.
Put on a show
effort.
and all that. Yeah,
that's what I do.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're always gonna bring on like amazing conversations for a bit too, and we just had like some like earlier on today and all that, you know. So it's pretty like interesting so far on what we've discussed about too, because we've talked about, you know, you having connections with other people I've had like on the platform like Tara Lord, Animation, Spitty, like Rax and all that too, and you know you also did like a little like award thing for them in terms of like their music. Like I know Rax won an award and all that too, like Sofiacide. I think they might have won something, and then there's like other people like Quasi and all that as well too. So
yeah. Yeah, that did happen. Yeah, that was great, man. And I appreciate you mentioning the awards as well, because we're here to talk about Brooklyn and New York, but I really appreciate you mentioning the awards. It's one of those things I actually like haven't recapped or anything like that. It was just like great, and so I kind of, you know, want to leave, you know, something I was proud of kind of behind and not try to, you know, have like a Instagram post with like, you know, some kind of essay underneath it, you know, about how amazing it was or whatever. I was just really happy with it. So I just kind of let it be where it is. And I appreciate you mentioning it. And I appreciate you mentioning a lot of great acts right there that you mentioned who, they were up for awards. Rax, she won Single of the Year. Antoine came about 10 votes close to her. So Antoine deserves a lot of respect. Everyone who was nominated deserves a lot of respect. Not everyone can win, but I'm not somebody who's just like everybody's a winner. You know what I mean? Everybody is a winner, but when it comes to competitions, not everyone is. So, and that's something that made it exciting. So I'm rambling a little bit. But
no worries.
Go ahead.
We're gonna get it like started right here to kind of get more within that story and all that. So, you know, where did you grow up, and what's like the environment like for you growing up at the time?
Grew up in Toronto. Grew up close to here, Yonge and Davisville, Yonge and Eglinton. Anybody knows the Yonge and Eglinton Cineplex? Drake mentions it in a few songs. He was like, used to be at Silver City Indigo. You know that theater? Yeah. So I used to work there for like 5 years or so. I grew up around here, and one thing I can tell you for sure, and like how it relates to my work, is that I've just met so many different kinds of people. I was in a unique position to put on rappers and rock bands because I knew rappers and rock bands. So when I became a promoter, it was something I wanted to do, was kind of blend the genres a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And, you know, usually for people like that I have on here and all that, you know, we always like tend to find out like what were they kind of like exposed to like growing up and all that too. So what were like some artist sounds like that you like listened to throughout that time, like growing up and all that?
Growing up, you know, you had like when I was 14 years old, Forest Hills Drive came out by J. Cole. That was a pretty big album. Around that time, obviously, you know, all of my proms and all that stuff would have Drake songs in the background, or all my school dances and all that stuff would have whatever big Drake song was going on. I mean, to this day, any party I go to has a Drake song on. I really can't escape him at all. Nor do I really want to most of the time. Drake would be, you know, huge, obviously, just coming from the city. You know, I'd also say I was listening to a lot of older music as well. I'm a big country music fan myself as well. Lil Wayne's The Carter 2 is still my favorite rap album of all time. Yeah, stuff like that.
For sure. I was actually 18 at the time when Forest Hills Drive came out and all that. 2015 Forest Hills Drive. But yeah, like I remember like even like just like months before that album, because it was like a surprise album, by the way, J. Cole actually had a free show in Toronto by like, you know, like the Skydome area and all that too. Like he had like Boss come up there, like Ras Fresco, Trey Mission, and that was actually like one of my first like actual like concerts that kind of got me onto like music and all that. And it was just like an amazing experience, like even like seeing him for free and all that too, and just like seeing the environment, like how it was like crowded at that time. Like that was like,
did you say Ras Fresco?
Yeah, Ras Fresco.
I saw him perform last night.
True.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's been in the city for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, he's been having like a lot of like motion in music, working with like Joey Badass, with like Pro Era, like a lot of like folks and all that too. So, you know, it's an amazing experience from his start until now, you know, even working with like Griselda, ST-Nac and all that. So yeah, man.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, man. And, you know, like I was like reading more of like the biography, like for like a little bit too, that you sent me. And, you know, you were like performing in bands, you know, doing shows. And then you kind of got like into like shows in that sense too, from hosting some of your own events and everything else too. So to even like kind of get that whole like inspiration on that. So like what inspired you to be involved in music, and who are your like influences like when it comes to like what you're doing like right now and all that?
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. I'm really influenced by a lot of my peers, you know. I want to give a big shout out to a guy named Fluffio, who's like, I mean, he doesn't do the kind of shows that I would put on necessarily, you know. A lot of my like peers that also run events would not run events that I would run. That said, like I've learned a lot from guys like him in terms of just the rate of shows that he has, like the way he puts on so many. And I really have caught up to him and others this year, and not in a like competitive, you know, well, in a competitive sense, but not in a like, you know, fuck you sense. Like I've really just been inspired by how often that guy puts on shows. I've really been inspired by guys who were around that were putting on, like when I was 16, 17, the whole Toronto music scene was rock bands. Yeah. I mean, it was literally just like, you know, there would be like a rap show like at Clinton's, like, you know, every now and then. And it would be like, I don't know, very much DIY feeling too, like a lot of the rap stuff. But I was very inspired by like bands. Shout out to the Fadeaways as well, like for what they did over like 20, I would say when I was like 15 to the time that I was like, and obviously they're not a band anymore. And, you know, Reed was an amazing guy. So I want to shout out that. But their impact in the city, like for like 5 years, was unrivaled. So they influenced me as well in terms of just bringing a big community together and just having a lot of different people together. And I kind of wanted to do that, just blending the genres a little bit more. Yeah.
And I know, like, you know, nowadays too, there's like a lot of like promoters and like everything going on from the mainstream to the underground. Like when it comes to Toronto, like when you talk about like the mainstream, you have like Rap Season, Embrace, I mean Live Nation, like that's like corporate, like in that sense too. And then you have like MRG and then Collective and all that. And then from what I've noticed, like they've only put on like a certain amount of like artists like on like either from like the underground or from like certain grounds, but like they would usually pick someone from the label or someone like connected with OVO to kind of do their shows and all that too. So I noticed like how there's like major differences with them versus like how the underground is like doing it in terms of having everyone on and like, you know, not having like any barriers towards like what you could do and like what sounds can like intermingle and all that too. So it's like very interesting, you know.
Sofiacide performed at an Embrace show recently. It's a pretty good segue into talking about those guys. Yeah, I mean they did, and you know, Embrace, as you mentioned, and Live Nation, you know, here and there you'll have, you know, moments where you can grab. I mean, it was a Wednesday night show. It was an amazing show, by the way, over at the Garrison. And I mean, there'll be moments, you know. Sometimes I wonder about, you know, where Zed Nights can go, and looking at Embrace and looking at Live Nation, and sometimes I ask myself, like, if I bought followers or something, like, would I just kind of like be at that point? I guess I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself that, but I think that, you know, we were just talking about like competition earlier. I think that like it's really good to like put yourself up against others, but not be like in a fuck you sense, and not be doing it in a sense of like putting yourself down and putting them up, or being like, I need to be exactly like that, or I need to do it exactly that way.
It's just like finding that right moment and like working with that right team to kind of like get that experience too, and just to, like even get it like in for a bit too. So how was your experience like performing at these like local events, like when you first started like making music, and being introduced to like booking events, like having like certain shows here and there before like the whole like Zed Night thing?
Before I even had the the trademark on it, I guess. It was just a lot of like band stuff primarily, and then once I had the Zed trademark was when I started to sort of blend the genres. Zed came from thinking about our generation of Generation Z and thinking about how at the time it was a very like genreless spirit. It was a spirit of like, just, hey, fuck genres, we're just making music. That was kind of around like 2018, 19, around the pandemic and stuff. The idea of Gen Z started to become a bit more of a meme, and we started to realize just how like pathetic a lot of the generation is, I guess. And so I started to kind of separate a little bit more from like associating it with the generation. However, I definitely associate it with saying fuck genres and saying fuck borders and saying fuck anything that holds people back from coming together in any sense, because good music is good music, good people are good people. Sure.
Do you ever feel like there's like sort of like a politics like when having like certain artists in like certain venues too? Because I know like with some venues like they're kind of against like having like certain people like on, depending on like what they value. Like some venues won't take rap, some venues won't take very abrasive artists. Like I've know like for maybe like certain like mainstream venues, they won't take people like NASCAR Aloe because of like histories of how they interact like on stage and all that. So no, I mean, that's something I've encountered all the time. Recently, there was a venue I was talking to. I say it like it was like a girl that I was like, talking. There was a venue I was talking to, and things didn't work out or whatever. But not like there was a venue I was talking to recently, and I noticed that I was talking to some bands that I know, and I would send them like what the deal was that I got from the venue, because I do that often just to like make sure that everything is cool. And I sent them the deal that the venue sent me, and it was a completely different deal that they sent me just because I was involving hip hop artists into it. Oh, true.
You know what I mean? So without naming names, there's a lot of that stuff that goes on in the city.
Yeah, 100% too. And, just even like having that whole like diverse range of like artists and like bands performing, what inspired you to like even do that for them to perform at the same shows? And was it like something that it kind of was like easy to do to getting like rappers and like, bands on, or is it like something to kind of like understand and like focus on the relationship like within those?
I don't know, man. Like, sometimes I'll talk to friends of mine and they'll be like, yeah, man, it's like the battle of getting rap into the venues, and it is that, but I don't want to like put any extra drama on it that like isn't there, obviously, like in terms of telling a good story, like I could tell you, like I'm the guy who brought, rap into the, like, no, dude, like Clinton's was always putting on rap shows, you know what I mean? And, where was Drake performing in 2007, 2006, even? Like he was performing at venues in Toronto, so like venues have been putting on rap. And it's not some, great like story of like, overthrowing anything that I would necessarily say. It's more just a slow burn. It takes time, and it takes you putting rappers on with rock bands a lot of the time, especially if you find a venue that like really hasn't done it ever. Like they've only put on rock bands who they know that the crowd is like drinking lots of beer, so they're selling well at the bar. They know that they're not going to have any like vandalism problems necessarily, I guess. Actually, honestly, like that's just in their own head. Like there's a lot of punk bands that'll be like graffiti and shit. So I don't know. I think in their own head, they're like, rap is going to bring the, whatever. And I think it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. I think it's ridiculous. It's like the idea that just because we're putting on a rap show, someone's going to get like fucking shot. It's ridiculous, honestly. And I've been, advocating for more rap stuff for the last few years. And I think sometimes it takes somebody like me who they think I'm like rock and, I want to put a Led Zeppelin cover band on my show. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that, So sometimes it takes somebody who they think is kind of more like on the rock realm, and then I bring in some more rap stuff, and I go, hey, what do you guys think about, we got this opener here, whatever, and then the opener becomes the headliner, and then the headliner becomes the consistent rap night that's always going on, so sometimes it just takes a bit more, but I mean, honestly, I'm really happy with the way things are right now. You got Quoted is doing things, DMTV is doing things. You got No Status, and I champion all those guys. Yeah. And all of them deserve all their credit, and it's really just a big shift that has been happening. And I don't think we necessarily, you know, talk about it as much, but it has happened. And I guess maybe it's more like in retrospect, we go, oh my God, like 2023, there's been a lot more rap shows happening.
Yeah. I mean, like Social Outcasts, they had like the NASCAR Allah show, like just like a while back too. I mean, there's like also like First Class Fest where they're having like a lot of rappers.
Stars Align in the Six as well.
Exactly. And it's like interesting too, like with the whole like styles and all that, because you have the very like mainstream rappers versus like, you know, the underground, like who's like actually like kind of starting out, and like it's actually amazing to see and all that. So
yeah, it is, man. It really is. Yeah, Sofiacide, those guys, I mean, they've got a rap feature like on their song. That's the kind of stuff I love to see, and they're boys with like Space Jam and stuff. I love it, like Space Jam, Sofiacide, fucking Wiener Kebab, GRG Cult, those guys like Calvin Moon, Sonny Adams, definitely, and like anybody who was rocking with Zed and like what we were doing in 2021 when like we were the first promotion that was like Zed was the first thing that was doing stuff in the venues, just because like, and it was weird. Like some of those shows were weird because it was COVID times and it was weird. Like anybody who was around for that period of time, Ali, you know what I'm saying? Ali's fucking killing it right now. Just did a cool shoot with Sofiacide as well. Just a lot of love for those guys.
I mean, Vilemerg as well too. Like Vilemerg's like killing it with every show and all that.
Absolutely.
Rax, like a whole lot of other people and all that too. I mean, Tara Lord as well too. So it's a good vibe actually, you know. Man. To speak more on like Zed Nights and all that, like how was that process like, you know, for hosting like many concerts and events from like the start until now?
Say it again, sir, man.
You know, how was like that process like, you know, first starting like Zed Nights, you know, from like the ground up, like through hosting like these many concerts and curating these shows, like all the way like until now and all that?
How has it been? I mean, it's been a lot of things, high highs, low lows at times, you know what I mean? This year's been pretty damn steady, honestly, and I think that's come with just having the rate of shows that I do be way more. Like if one show doesn't go how I wanted it to go, like I've got 3 more that month. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at, and you know, there's consistent like revenue being generated, not just for myself, but like everybody involved. Like we're really doing well, and yeah, this year's been pretty stable. Like I'd say 2022 was really high highs, low lows. Like if I did a really great show, I felt amazing. If like, you know, things didn't go well, it was like low lows. And so, I would say that just comes with doing it over time. You know, you mentioned like, you said going back to like the beginnings of it. Yeah, like the beginnings of it are like when you win, it's fucking incredible. Like, you know, when I literally made like $5,000 off one show when I was like 19, I was losing my fucking mind. I was like, this is going to be my career. This is everything to me, you know? And then when you're 21 and you lose $2,000 or $4,000 on a show, you go, fuck, like this is the end. I'm done, whatever. And honestly, you just got to stop all of that romanticizing and grandizing everything and going, oh, this is the end. This is the greatest thing. And right now it's just, you just keep doing it, keep going. Exactly. If this one was amazing, okay, I still got another one. If this one was a failure, okay, I still got another one. Exactly. So it's just about, you know, this has become like a Joe Rogan episode. I feel, for sure. To be honest.
Just to compare, like for the $5,000 that you received for the first time, like was it like that you kept the whole like $5,000, or did you have to like kind of like divide that to kind of get?
That's after. Yeah. So we had a good show. Like that's after whatever. Yeah.
And, you know, for like a lot of people that, you know, have never hosted concert or have never like curated events and all that too, like a lot of people might want to know someday if they want to start their own show or start their own event and all that. So
well, they definitely do, because I dropped that I made, you know, $5,000. I guess now that's the inspiration. Yeah.
But like, what would like a typical show process like even be like from that sense too, from the start of like announcing the show, like having like that poster and all that, like all over the city until like wrapping up, you know, getting your back end and like just kind of like sleeping the next day and all that, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, where do you begin? I guess you begin with just an idea, you know. The most recent event I did was the award show, so I can answer your question by, you know, describing that and distilling that one down. And, you know, I mean, that one was something where it was an idea for like a couple of years. It was something where I did I did a rap competition, you know, on a whim. At the time, I was also like running like dodgeball tournaments between rappers and shit like that. Like at the time, I had a really good year in 2021. So near the end of it, I was just experimenting. That's kind of how I feel actually right now. But at the time, I did like this competition, this rap competition, and the spirit of like people having to go against one another was something that made it, you know, difficult for people that lost and difficult in a lot of ways. However, at the same time, it was something that created like so much enjoyment for everybody, like even the people that didn't win. Like there was just something about the fact that you got excited and your people that came to the event got excited for you and wanted to root for you and wanted to cheer for you to win. There was something about that that was really special. And that was honestly when I started to think about the award show itself and doing something on more of a broader scale. You know, with guys like, actually that was Sonny Adams' first show, that was Calvin Moon's first show, and that was Ali's first show ever. I love all three of those guys to death. And their people would have showed up regardless because their people are great people. The people that come to all their shows are great people. However, I will tell you that because it was a competition, there was an extra bit of it where there was like, okay, we need to show up and show out for these guys. And that was something that, you know, created more excitement, created more people coming to the event, period. And so the moment that event was done, I was like, what if we did an award show where, you know, it's like single of the year, all that, you know, and Bar Cathedral was a place that I'd been going to shows for a long time. And I thought that that setting and the environment of doing an award show coming together would be incredible. So it really started with an idea. Again, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is amazing for this reason, this is amazing for that reason. However, you know, it really comes down to, is it the right time for this? Do I have all the ducks in a row? Like, am I good with this person? Am I good with that person? Is this going to feasibly work? Like, do I have nominees in mind or whatever? So you have an idea, then you go, okay, this can tangibly work. I've got a venue, I've got this. Okay, then I'm talking to the venue. Okay, wow, I got the date that I wanted. I got that figured out. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get, you know, a fucking Wednesday night. Like I mentioned, Sofiacide had their show there, and it was fucking insane, like packed out. You know what I mean? So you have to make the best. You got to boast a little bit, but you got to make the best of whatever situation you have, and then you just roll from there. Then you got to sell tickets, you got to get your poster together. A lot of people are generating a poster from the jump because that comes with just having the idea. However, I'm really big on like wait to get the poster out. And honestly, like giving it not that much time before the event is actually cool because then the hype doesn't go down. You know what I mean? If you post an event a little bit too early, like if you go like a month out even, I swear to God, like even just a month out, the hype can die down at like week 3. You know, the first couple weeks, okay, everyone's sharing it. Week 3, it's like, okay, week 4, the actual event happens. I'm big on like, honestly, I guess I'm giving out like a bit of my, you know, stuff that I've learned or just picked up, and that's fine. But honestly, like I'm really big on just the moment the hype is there, the event should come around like very quickly afterwards. And like, honestly, 2.5 weeks is pretty nice as far as I'm concerned. But
not for sure.
Yeah.
And like, you know, usually with like a lot of like events too, like you'll have like, you know, like some big names like that come by to kind of check out the artist too, or like to kind of give like their support in like certain ways. Like if they kind of come out as like a special guest too, or if they just kind of like come to like the back of the venue, or like the back of the like crowd, just like watching and all that too. Like it'll be something that, you know, people co-sign and all that too. So I don't know if you've had that experience, you know, with people like in the Toronto scene, or if it's like, you know, like other names like from other parts of town and all that.
Yeah, just having like special guests involved or kind of around the corner, kind of popping up on stage. Yeah, I've had a few of those. You know, guys who'll have encores or stuff like that, and they'll bring out like somebody involved. That's always really exciting. I actually saw that happen at an amazing show recently, the third DMTV show. Wow. They had Quasi come out for a second, and like the crowd went crazy. And dude, like if you're not tapped in with DMTV or seeing what they're doing, like Maxime is a fucking monster, man. Like he's going wherever the fuck he wants to go, straight up. And he's just doing exactly what he's been talking about doing for so long. So I mean, shouts to him. But honestly, like that Quasi moment where he came out on stage during DMTV3 was really incredible for sure.
He's the one with the on the radar like freestyle, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
True. So like just him starting from that, and so like now and all that, it's like amazing experience, even like having like someone like that who's like starting out, and then like he's kind of getting bigger and bigger from there and all that.
Yeah, that's what's beautiful. Like I've had people that opened my shows end up being headliners and stuff or whatever, just because they've been, you know, making it like that. They've been doing what they have to do, and that's pretty sweet.
100% too, man. And to kind of get more into the Sofiacide stuff right now, how did you manage to like link up with them and to get them to perform at your events and all that?
Oh man, yeah. Where do I begin with those guys? So Calvin Moon, who you had on the podcast, he mentioned on here, like in this chair, he mentioned a rooftop show where we broke the roof allegedly. We did not break. I'm sorry. I'm gonna end that rumor tonight. Like right now, we did not. I had to pay like $100 in damages, bro. Like it was nothing crazy. However, it was really good. Like it was really good reputationally. Like people were like, it broke the roof, whatever. It was Sofiacide's first ever event, and it was my rooftop show in the fall of 2021. And so that's when I linked up with those guys. A friend of mine had been hitting me up about them, like, you got to get in this band, you got to get in with this band. And another band dropped out of the rooftop show, and I was like, you know what, I've been getting like bugged about this like really amazing band for a minute. Like, I'm just gonna put these guys on, and they killed it. And the roof was shaking, and we did break like some stuff. And so from there, I just knew that those guys were completely different. And also at that show, I got to see that those guys were able to like be open to other genres, and like they were just boys immediately with Space Jam, and they were like hanging around. And that's exactly what I'm all about too. And I think that especially now, like, not just like, I don't just think it's cool, I also think it makes fucking sense, just business wise, period. Like, and it's authentic though too. It's authentic to them, but it also just makes total sense just from like a business perspective. Like they're cool with like rap, like, and as a band, like, who can you like, honestly, like a lot of the bands out here like wearing overalls, like acting like they're too smart, like too smart to whatever. Wearing glasses like these, like, you know what I mean? So like there's not a lot of that embracing of, and I love all those, all the bands in the city right now, I'm just saying. But I think that the way that Sofiacide has embraced like everything, and they've done their own thing as well, is great. And that's how I linked up with them, was just that event itself.
Yeah, I was like listening to the music for a bit too, and like, I kind of noticed like they have like a similar like sound to like let's say like a punk version of like Prince or like Donnie, like Benet and all that too, like kind of like those like artists for a bit too. And then they also kind of had like the whole like unique sound, like with like David Bowie and like even like with the whole like Stooges like type stuff too. Like that's cool that you picked up on. Yeah, definitely a lot of Bowie in there. Yeah, Springsteen as well, I would say. Yeah. But also just their own exactly. fucking thing, and their music is undeniable. Yeah, exactly. Undeniable music. Yeah. Yeah, and like, I mean, even like their stage like guitar too. Like one's like I was actually watching like one YouTube video where I think like the guitarist was like wearing like, I think like some like underwear and all that on, then some underwear. Yeah, and then I think I think the lead singer was like wearing like like a cop suit and all that, like half naked, like, and all that, which is like pretty like interesting too, just like with the guitar and all that and the fit and all that. And, like, they were just like having fun, like there was like people like enjoying it and all that too. And then like their music is actually like pretty interesting too. Like it was definitely something like new to me, like that I definitely like vibed in with and all that. And like a lot of it, like with the new stuff like Bianchetto and all that, like their self-titled project. Yeah, Bianchetto, yeah. And then American like Upheaval and like Double Happiness and all that too. So like, just to give like your like perspective on that, like what was like their what would you describe the inspiration and creative process for them? Yeah, I can't speak too much about their creative thing. Yeah, I mean, I would tell you that Eric is just somebody who loves making music before anything else in his life. Yeah, like, and you can hear that, like you can hear that, so I think that's the other thing that's incredible is like, yeah, I don't use that word lightly. I think that's the other thing that's incredible is that they've got a reputation, they've got a stage presence, they've got a lot of loud action and sort of like a name that kind of grips you from the jump, and the music can back all of that up, and that's something that I appreciate very much, and I think there's a lot of acts that they've got one thing or they got the other thing, they've got all of it. And that's how I feel about that. No, for sure, man. And I don't know if you know like if they have the inspiration for their stage name. I don't know if they like told you for that like by any chance.
Man, yeah, they got a friend named Sophia. I'll let them tell that. No, though I'll tell you from the jump, they got a friend named Sophia. Yeah,
for sure. All right, to just kind of get back onto your stuff for a bit too. Like you actually created like an iPhone app to kind of track like I think artists in that sense too, or
track them.
Yeah.
Find where they are, and just ask them what's up. And, it's like Cameo, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Just like I know you already explained like a little bit of the backstory, but tell me more about that and how was that like, you know?
Yeah, I mean that was. So you started doing podcasting, Josh, like around COVID times and all that, and I started the iPhone app and I started podcasting around COVID times as well, and so the iPhone app it exists. It's something that is. I mean, since COVID times, I haven't been podcasting as much either, right? So, I mean, that was something that was really sick at the time. Like we had fadeaways on there. It was really big because, for me personally, because it was just like a way to do something that set me apart from, there was a lot of like collectives in the city, or there was a lot of different like kind of event promoters or whatever. And so I think like having an iPhone app, whoever was around can tell you, it's probably more for them to speak on that than for me to like tell you it was fucking amazing. Like, you know what I mean? It was something that, I think set me apart, at the time.
Sure. 100% too. And, you also actually hosted like one of your shows at the legendary like Alma Combo and all that. So tell me more about that and the experience, like, beyond it, like in that sense too.
Yeah. Honestly, man, it's a small city. I'm not going to say too much. That was, I'll talk about the show itself. And, I went to the Alma Combo for a meeting just like a month ago. Man, it was a great show. And that's a legendary venue. I mean, nothing can take away that venue's history. Nothing can take away the Rolling Stones, dude. Nothing can take away... Marilyn Monroe like hung out there one time. I heard that. I don't know. For me personally, like Stevie Ray Vaughan and John Mellencamp are like those are my favorites that have been in the Alma Combo actually. My number one favorite would be Space Jam, personally, to be at the Alma Combo. But there's been like a lot of incredible acts that have come through there, so it was a real honor. It was a real blessing to do a show there, and I'm just really grateful for that. And it was something that, especially for Sofiacide, who performed there within that show that I put on, it was really cool to see Paulo, basically just out Mick Jagger in a sense, as far as I'm concerned. So
Yeah, because like I know for like a lot of like Toronto venues and all that, like you'll have some that are like still like historic like to this day and all that, and kind of bring like a sense of history and all that too. Like I mean, the Danforth Music Hall, they had like Rihanna perform there like I think back in like 2010 and all that too. And then you've had like other venues like the Phoenix Concert Theater that had like Nirvana and like the Rolling Stones and all that, like Guns N' Roses for a bit too. And then
Guns N' Roses are the greatest band ever. Yeah.
And then I like there's like old venues like like the Silver Dollar, which is like some like little like restaurant now and all that. It's not like really like a venue anymore too. And then I mean Rebel, which I don't know if it's still like an active like venue to this day because we have history and like they're moving like everything to like other parts of town and all that, and it's gonna be like more corporate. So it kind of changes like over and over. Like
rest in peace.
Yeah. How do you even like feel about like the whole like venue stuff like in Toronto right now? Just like some like either shutting down or in the brink of like shutting down for like condos and all that.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Ashley at Save Toronto Music Venues. She STMV is now what they go by because they are a profit promotion at this point. Though you got to say like they were holding it down as a non-profit for about 2 years there, and it makes total sense that they're a profit promotion now, though they were Save Toronto Music Venues, and that was their whole handle. And I collaborated with them like a little bit, they put out like an EP around that time that was really great. They did a lot of really strong community building in the COVID times. You know, I do a lot of community building, but I don't really like call it community building. But we're both doing the same thing. I mean, just one of us wants to put that label on it, and other people, you know, I think if I walked around and, you know, I was doing rap shows and whatever, I was like, we're community building right now. I don't know, like, that's not really my flavor. However, I've got so much love for what they were able to do, and I was a part of that community that they brought together. I was a part of, you know, I was another promotion that, you know, I was running events for like 3 years, and then, you know, COVID hit, and like that was my career path, and the moment COVID hit, you know, it was different, man. And so I feel very strongly just knowing them about venues shutting down, and I feel very strongly about the cause to help bring them back. I mean, I'm, you know, more than anything, live music is my passion and my love. So, you know, that was just a really horrible time, and we still have a lot of that to this day. The way I feel about it is it sucks. You know, I
feel like when they, you know, kind of brought like the whole like not restrictions, but like the reduced like restrictions back and all that, you know, lifting like a lot of them up. So I feel like it did like maneuver something to like save these like venues for a bit too, because when September 2021 came about too, like they started off slow with only having certain shows at like big venues, and then it led to other like venues like coming back into kind of getting like all these like shows like all together, and, you know, just kind of worked out. Like I think like right now we're at that peak where everything is like more back to normal than anything else too, and like there's not that worry of like, you know, some venues like being shut down too, because there's still like more money coming in towards like, you know, certain events and certain styles and all that too. And I definitely say it's like a blessing in disguise too, and all that, because if we were still like doing the whole like restriction stuff, like there would have been like a lot of like venues that would have like closed down, like either way, you know.
And by the way, if you're running a shady operation and your venue shuts down, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, in that regard, I'm not super like, you know, let's get Ashley to go and save them, you know what I mean? But you know, even in those case scenarios though, I do say to myself, like, for the people that enjoyed coming to those events, you know what I mean? For the people that enjoyed performing at those events when they weren't getting gouged, you know, it just fucking blows. I mean, you know, it's like, you gotta, like, I don't know, we gotta keep venues around. But I at the same time, you mentioned as well, like, we're in a pretty good spot now. I remember when it was like Armageddon, and it was like Sneaky D's is shutting down, and like, you had all these like punks coming in from like Mississauga, like, focus, Sneaky D's shutting down, like they were like, you know what I mean? So
100%.
And Sneaky D's is still around, so
either way, you know. But yo, I mean, your stuff's like been recognized by like Blog too and all that. I don't know if that was like the only major platform that kind of recognized it, or if there were like other ones that also like recognized your work as well too.
Yeah, Blogtio would be the number one, and a lot of my friends have been featured in there as well. You know, guys that I'm, you know, going to be in a retirement home with, like, you know, like Jet and Kian got featured in there. B-Joy, you know, did not get featured in there. But those four guys, B-Joy is about to be featured in New York Times pretty damn soon. And those three guys, just wanted to shout them out real quick, are my boys. Like, love those guys. So just wanted to shout them out real quick. Yeah, like Blogtio featured me. I just found out about it like 2 months ago that they featured me when I was like 18.
Oh wow!
And I just found out about it like no, I was 19. I was 19, but I just found out about it like 2 months ago, and I didn't know it when I didn't know that they featured an event of mine at the time, and that really meant a lot to me to see that, because that event was really huge for me. And that was like one of the last ones I did before the pandemic, and I was like really fucking down when the pandemic happened, as everybody was, you know. I mean, I was down for a minute. I got back up, as you mentioned, iPhone app, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, there was a moment there where it was like, damn, like, this was my career path, live events. And, you know, things were down for a second. So to think that that guy that was down at the time didn't even know that he had been featured in Blogtio for one of his events when he was like 19 is really cool to me. Even though I'm only seeing it now, it's really cool. And then they also came through to Rap Night 2 with Rax that we were talking about earlier. And they came to that. They interviewed me. They live streamed the whole thing. And that was really cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it means a lot, man. At the end of the day, like, that's like a blog that, like, you know, my parents are like following, you know. That's a blog that, like, that's really is Toronto's blog. That really is Toronto's blog. So it meant a lot.
I think the only reason why it has been, been bigger to like this day and all that, I think it's like more so the food recommendations and all that, and like all the other stuff too, like with events too, because like when people like want to go for like a good like food spot and all that, like not like McDonald's or Popeyes or whatever shit that comes by and all that, you see like a local spot, like let's say like a PG Clugs, or like let's say like a Kinson Ramen, even though it's like mainstream right now, or like let's say like a Chica's or like a Kamala and all that,
Yeah.
like
You're putting me on.
Yeah,
right now.
They kind of like do the research and all that, and they look into it, and if they like it, they like it. If it's something that they don't want to tap in, they don't want to tap in. And what I could actually say is that they're actually doing it in all forms of content, with long form, with short form, with reviews, with all that type of stuff too. And like it's kind of like amazing to see too. Like I know for me, like I did like a little bit of research of some restaurants I've been working on for a bit too, because we're also doing like a whole like food vlog type thing where we've actually went to some spots like Minnie Mo's Burgers and like Kamala and all that, Shelby's, which is like viral like on TikTok too, and like this other like Tibetan spot too. So when I read like food blog too or for other stuff, we kind of like look into the influence, see if they kind of like it, all that type of stuff too, and we check it out just to see in case too,
So. Yeah, exactly. Like the city has more than McDonald's, and
true.
I love McDonald's, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's really just I mean, there are places that are way better, but true. I love you know what I'm saying? I'm loving it. But I'll tell you, like, it's cool that they showcase like the corners of the city that people don't look at as much, and that's why it is what it is, right? And that's why they showcase, like, I'm grateful for all of that. Like, they could be showing a breakthrough event or a Live Nation thing, and they're looking at they're looking at my buddies too that are like taking great photos. They're looking at the underground.
For sure. If you want to like plug in your favorite food spots for people who want to tap in, like what would you recommend?
Oh man, I would have to say Gus Tacos in Kensington. I'm a big like Mexican food guy, so you know what I'm saying, like best taco round, I'd have to say there. And then as well, I'd have to say like best beer, I'd have to go with like Supermarket as well. They got like a really great like standard lager that they have there. Recently I've been going there and just like getting bottles of Stella, to be honest with you, but I gotta tap back in with their lager a little bit. That's great. Honestly, for me too, Kian and I, shout out to Kian, fucking the Buffalo wrap at Toby's. So I literally just mentioned 3 places that are on the same block, but those would be my Gus Tacos, Market Lager, and the Buffalo Chicken wrap at Toby's.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, from what I could recommend right now, I mean, I've already said it like in the past too. There's like Burger Drops on Liberty Village. It's like pretty good too and all that. I'd say like Shelby's, even though it's like very mainstream, like kind of like Gus Tacos and all that too, but like they have like amazing shawarmas and all that. I'd say like Il Star Sammy's and all that. Like they have like good Philly cheesesteaks and all that.
Yeah, you're way more tapped in, bro. So, you're way more tapped in. I'm loving it. That's all I gotta say about that. Yeah,
100% too. And you're actually working with like New York artists right now with their shows and all that. And you actually have something going on in December 16th and all that in New York with Sofiacide and all that.
Yeah.
So what made you decide on like tapping into the New York music scene and being established in their scene and like curating shows there?
Yeah, no. What didn't make me want to get involved with the New York scene is really the better question. And I would say I'm in there, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I know a lot of artists now just because the last year or so I've just been connecting with them. I've either been interviewing them or I've just been getting to know them just by talking to them. Yeah. And I've really been kind of getting a sense of it. And honestly, probably been attacking that a lot more than Toronto at certain points in time over the last like year. And then I've gone back and been like, I'm not going to New York, and then but most of the damn time I've been pretty up on getting involved in that scene, and what would have me not want to go there, I mean, it's really like the center of media, and for me too, like it's really just very quick pace. Everybody's just working, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, you come to this thing, you go to this thing, like whatever. And that kind of suits like where I'm at and like what I'm, the sort of pace that I'm into. So yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, it's over, bro. Once we get Sofiacide out there this Saturday, it's donezo. We're over there. Yeah.
Do you feel like the people in New York actually like love like Sofiacide like as well too?
We sold a lot of tickets.
True.
We sold a lot of tickets, man, and it's one of those things where you know, they've also been like doing their own reach out to people around. We're doing it in Brooklyn. We were doing it in the Bronx before, but I mean, you know, a lot of the same people that were like, oh, it's happening in the Bronx? Okay. Oh, it's happening in Brooklyn? Okay, I'm coming to Brooklyn. You know, like there are people that have just been like, oh, these guys seem cool. I want to see this band. And that's a lot more of the New York sensibility too. Like I want to go see this band. That's a bit more like New York than Toronto necessarily. Like Toronto's a bit more like Ice Spice and Doja. Yeah. Or, I mean, hey, dude, I wanted to go to that fucking show. I'm not saying I didn't want to, you know, see that shit with my eyes. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just
sorry, my bad. But like, you know, it's just way more than New York sensibility to like want to go and attack that. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, New York and LA, like those two cities, every fan like will definitely go to like an artist show like no matter what and all that. Like when you even like see like certain rappers, like they'll only have like 2 shows that they really care about, the New York show and the LA show and all that too. The LA show, because there's like a lot of influencers, creators, like people who are like gatekeepers and like, you know, also like tastemakers as well too, that are also gonna pull up, and like the amount of fans too from like all over. Like same with New York too and all that. And I feel like they're very diverse, like with the music taste and all that. Like they could have like, you know, like a West Coast artist like perform in New York, and they're gonna have like a good amount of tickets like sold either way too. Same with like an East Coast artist like in the West Coast too and all that too, because, you know, it's like more of that diversity and range and style and all that too. And like you could even be the most like obscure like artist, like, you know, like a UK drill rapper like coming, and like you'll have like NY and like LA like sold out like instantly and all that too. And all
absolutely. That too. Absolutely, yeah, because people flock like from out of town too to come in.
Yeah,
you know, So that's what's going to be going down with Sofiacide, MSG. I'm telling you, I'm getting on the phone with whoever I got to.
Nah, 100% too, man. And you know, to give more of your thoughts on the Toronto community, like music scene and all that too. Like, how do you feel about that right now? And do you feel that there should be some changes on the direction of where the Toronto Canadian music scene should go?
I don't know, man. I've always been kind of like, you know, if you sit here and you go like, we got to change something, we got to change the community. It's like, dude, like I'm not a politician. I tell you that like I tell you that I definitely, you know, saw that there wasn't a lot of rap being respected by like old venue owners and stuff like that. And so like I saw a lot of that going on, and I just said to myself, okay, I'll book some bands and I'll bring some rappers involved. It wasn't like I'm going to, you know, I just think that whole notion is kind of like, all right, dude, like this dude needs to change himself. You know what I mean? Like before you try and like change a community or change or whatever, like, you know, like do what you want to do things for a positive reason. For me, like I would say that the Toronto music scene is something I love to death, and I love everybody involved in it, and the fans of it, and the people that come around. And Space Jam is amazing. Sofiacide is amazing. You know, Wiener Kebab. When I say their name, like no one takes that band seriously. I tell you, they're fucking Sofiacide and them are like, they've already sold out Lee's, and it's like happening in like 2 months basically. So, you know, that band is insane. GRG Call, The Coalition. God, I mean, I'm gonna forget some people. I've already shouted out so many people during this whole podcast. But you know, Quasi, dude. I mean, think about what Quasi is doing. So like when he was at the award show and I had him that award and everything. You know, just think about that and think about how he's got such a really supportive team around him and people that like love him and his music, and so seeing something like that is incredible. Like, you know, there are a lot of things like I get behind it because I see where it's going, but to be honest with you, like I get behind it because I fuck with what it is right now. I fuck with what Quasi is right now. He's just incredible. And that's why he's going to where he's going, is because what he currently is incredible, right? So I think the scene, you know, I'm in love with an emo girl. Like, I don't know. I think the community is, I think the city has, I grew up here, right? So I've seen like the diversity of sound and talent and just genreless spirit, and that's what Zed is. Zed is came from talking about this generation and how this generation has really embodied just saying fuck the genre, and that's come from streaming services coming in. You got people that are like, you know, I know people that are like, I'm a shoegaze guy and I'm also a fucking you know, reggae guy. I don't know anyone actually like that, but I'll tell you, I know a lot of people that blend with different genres just in their own listening space. When you had to go and buy a vinyl, you decided I'm a metal dude.
Yeah.
Because this is what I'm, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a quarter pounder and cheese dude. You know what I mean? That's what exactly. It was. Yeah, right? So now it's a completely different thing. That's what Zed is all about. And the future looks incredible. And I'd also raise the future and say that the present is pretty damn incredible too.
And to kind of add on to like what you're saying too, like I actually interviewed this guy named DJ, like not DJ Four Corners, who's like the official like DJ.
I know him.
Yeah. So I've interviewed him like for another platform like a while back too.
At the Raptors, like all
that. Yeah. So shout out to Four Corners by the way too. But he told me something like very interesting too and all that. Like you can't be from Toronto and like not like listened to like everything and all that too, because every Toronto person in their life has like listened to like almost like every genre, like rap, hip hop, punk, you know, K-pop, R&B, like whatever like genre like it is possible to. And like it's just that acceptance of diversity versus like other places where you only have to listen to like one form of music and like that's the only stuff too. Like with a lot of people like in Toronto, they use like other influences too, like even with their music and all that. You see like rock bands like using hip hop, you see rappers using punk and like, you know, rock music and all that. You see rappers using R&B and all that with like Drake, with like, you know, Party Next Door and all that with The Weeknd, and like others like using like other sounds too. And like I feel like it's what sets Toronto apart from like every other city too, because we're open to accepting like whatever sound that might come in our way and all that, versus like with other cities where, you know, I want to only stick to this lane and like not that lane and all that too. And like, you know, it has even worked out with like even like with music festivals and with other events too, because you'll see like rappers performing in the same stage as like, you know, rock bands or like punk bands and all that type of stuff too. No, so it's like pretty interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, Miami beat us for the most diverse city in the world recently. However, Miami, you have a lot more separation between those diversifications. Yeah. So in Toronto, you have everybody in a melting pot, particularly downtown, particularly in the music scene. So that's why you get the things that you're talking about, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I remember, like, to add in, like, as well, too, like, I remember there used to be, like, a lot of, like, music festivals, like, back then and all that, like, in Toronto, like, where you could, like, go to, like, the Fort York Commons and see, like, a music festival. Like, they've had that with Time. They've had that with the Mad Decent, like, block parties and all that. They've had that with, I mean, they still have it with, like, Electric Islands and, like, all the other stuff, too. And then they used to have, like, Field Trip. They used to have, like Way Home. And then, like, when they have, like, these, like, bylaws and other stuff right now, it kind of, like, almost ruined, like, the whole, like, vibe for Toronto to make it be more corporate and all that, which is why, like, you know, usually some artists will just only do a show here and there and, like, that's it. And then you'll have, like, other people, like, that do come for these events, like Rolling Loud or, like, the Toronto Beer Festival and all that, and it just kind of changes that whole aspect in that sense, you know, so.
Yeah, definitely. No, you definitely get a lot of stuff coming over that makes a big impact, too, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, with everything else, like, that is, like, showing some form of, like, support and all that, you know, with certain, like, you know, like, influencers, like, coming to Toronto, with academics, like, with the whole, like, live stream and all that, with Rolling Loud Toronto, with other stuff, too. Do you feel that it has, like, shed a light, like, on the Toronto music scene, like, on a mainstream level, or is there, like, more time needed?
Just a little bit more time, you know what I mean? Yeah, just a little more time. Though that stuff is incredibly positive, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, we just have, like, some of these questions, like, you know, before, like, we end, like, the live stream and all that, too. But who would you like to, like, host someday? Like, if you have, like, any, like, big-name artists or, like, artists that you really like that you want to, like, host, like, their shows and all that, like, which ones would you do that for your own platform and all that?
Yeah, Drake.
Drake?
Easy. Yeah, absolutely. You know, Drake night, I guess. I don't know. Like, you know, yeah, you kind of got to go. Like, I just shoot for, like, if we were in the 60s, I would have said the Beatles.
Oh, true.
You know what I mean? Just shoot for, you know, the top there. Yeah.
Oh, true. Like, maybe, like, even, like, Pop and all that, or, like, other, like,
artists. Oh, like the bands?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pop? Yeah, I fuck with Pop.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I fuck with Pop. Would they be the biggest band right now? I don't know, dude. Bands are not in the, you know, and that's, I mean, I listen to country more than any other genre, but I tell you, like, band, and I listen to tons of bands too. Yeah, right now I was actually looking on Spotify Wrapped. It was just like Lil Wayne and then like 3 other country artists. Like Lil Wayne was like number 2, and then there's all these like old dudes with beards. But I would say, like, Yeah, I just think rock kind of. I would. Yeah. Guns N' Roses. I'll go with Drake and Guns N' Roses.
True. No, 100% too.
Kanye as well. Got to throw him up there.
True. How do you feel about like a lot of like rising acts so far in country, like with Morgan Wallen and all that, and like Oliver, like Anthony, and then also.
Damn, I did not expect to get asked this question right now. That's why.
And like, I mean, even like, who's that other guy too? There's like Luke Bryant with like that Fast Car song and all that, and then
Luke Combs.
Oh, Luke Combs.
All good.
That.
All good.
And then I think this other like well-known guy, like Don't Try That, like in a small town and all that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how do you even like feel about like the new sound of like country right now?
Yeah, I fuck with it. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things like, yeah, I'm a big fan. Sure. You know, the thing is like they've all got something to say. I think it's kind of a lot of people. It just becomes a bandwagon the same way people don't like Nickelback. You know what I mean? I understood it for like Imagine Dragons or something. I'm like, yeah, it's not the best band. Yeah. You know, or like Maroon 5 when they went poppier, it's like, yeah, it's not the best band. But like Nickelback, I kind of got, okay, they do like a lot of stuff that's like, they'll write songs that are like commercial, their interests are commercial. Yeah. Though I never understood that. And I think there are certain bandwagons people just get upon. It's like, oh, he's that kind of guy. He's that kind of whatever. And hey man, cool. It is what it is. No. I can't, that's life.
I think like out of all those like artists that I've mentioned, like one of the only ones that I could only say that might have like some form of like star like factor that is like kind of unique from the rest too is like Oliver Anthony and all that too. Like I remember like that whole like Richmond north of like Richmond and all that song. It was actually very like interesting too because a lot of people try to paint it as like like a right wing type of like propaganda and all that with the lyrics and all that, even though he's just expressing his frustrations as like someone from the Appalachia area.
Oh yeah, no, like, I'll give you like Try That in a Small Town was right wing as fuck.
Yeah.
But I would say that was like, if anything, that felt more
like progressive, like
yeah, dude. It's like it's hating on like listen to the title of that song.
Yeah.
Like rich men north, like you're hating on
the bourgeoisie and all that. Come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I would say a lot of people just don't take the time to actually listen to like the lyrics of something, and that's okay. I think a lot of people have certain connotations. There's a lot of hurt involved that comes from certain types of people, and they go, oh, like he's that kind of guy. Like I get it sometimes, but it's like, dude, like you're not getting to know me or that music at all. Like if you listen to this podcast right now, have we talked about country? Like I didn't expect to even, you know what I mean? So
because I mean, country is like very like viral right now with the music. I mean, Afro beats as well too. Like a lot of the most like popular like artists right now are like Afrobeat artists and all that. And then you have like a lot of Spanish music like popping up too. I mean, Peso Pluma. I don't know if you know like Peso Pluma by any chance and all that.
Yeah.
If I could say like who he actually kind of resembles like in a sense too, think of like the Spanish version of like Morgan Wallen like in a sense too. Like just sick. Like the whole like corrido music, being like an adjacent version to like country music but in Espanol and all that. So
yeah, I don't know, man. I just think there's just something about there's just something about like country and the way that they will tell stories through their music. I mean, honestly, rap and country are not different. Like, you know what I mean? In the same sense, like, and you'll hear the same tropes used in rap all the time, and you'll hear the same stuff used in country all the time, and it's really just expression and whatever. It's like two sides of the exact same coin, I think, personally.
Sure.
Like, everybody's not too different when you actually, like, peel the layers back, So that's actually what, my whole events and everything have actually been a lot about too. Just kind of bringing us like full circle.
Bring everyone together and all that. And
just take a chance. Like don't write anybody off or write any kind of music off as any kind of thing. The last thing that we need to do, especially right now, is be othering people or saying like this is that way, that is this way. Like life is not black and white. That's it. You know what I mean?
And for what I could say right now, like just like even within this topic, I would love to see a Morgan Wallen and Peso Pluma track together.
Incredible.
That would be
incredible. Him doing anything like Latin, like it would be just fucking nuts, nuts.
Like just for your interest like in music and all that too, like I always say this for everyone else like on the platform too, like whether it's like artists or like everyone else too, like let's say like you have like a playlist of music right now and like you have like certain like songs like that you would recommend. So what would be like 3 songs from like Toronto based artists that you would recommend for any person that has not heard about like that style of Toronto music that you would like to like kind of like recommend and all that?
Chelsea Boots by Sofiacide, Robert Munch by Space Jam. You know what? For Sofiacide, I'm gonna go with might be something on their first album instead. But right now, I'll go with Chelsea Boots. Because like their self-titled Sofiacide album is just, there's a lot of great stuff on there. But I'll go with Chelsea Boots by Sofiacide. Space Jam's Robert Munch. Dude, you gotta hear that shit. Fucking insane. I could, dude, right now I could give you like all the lyrics to that. Yeah. Then apart from that, a third one, I'd have to go with B-Joy Aurora's. I'd have to go with Maybe Later. I'd have to go with that one.
Yeah, sure, man. And
that last one though, you got to check that one. Yeah.
And we're gonna put that on all the playlists and all that too. Like for the Rising Acts playlist for Toronto artists, like definitely like tap that in. Gonna put that in the link in the bio like later on and all that. I mean, it's already in the link in the bio, but I'm gonna put it on for people to tap in like later on, like in the stories and all that. So. But yeah, man. Aside from the New York show, what do you have going on throughout the rest of the year and for 2024 that you would like to plug in?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about stuff. I guess I don't know. Like, yeah, man. Nah, that's lame as hell to be like. I don't want to talk about stuff. I would say, I'll tell you like, just continuing with Zed Nights itself. Like Objective Zed, I'm kind of doing a lot more. They're all Zed, like they're all Zed, whatever. Objective Zed is like, where I'm putting a lot of experimental events and, just our first New York show and the award thing are on that page. It's really just an Instagram account that represents Zed. Same as Zed Nights is just an Instagram account that represents what we've been doing for a long time. But I would say with Zed Nights in particular, I can say that there's just going to be a continued rate of solid nights, like just packed in shows at some of the most renowned venues out here and doing them at a rate that'll kill me. So that is what I would say for 24 for sure. And then other than that, the experimental stuff is experimental and it'll pop up when it pops up. And I'm just really grateful that I have people that care to even, perform at my shows and, being interviewed by you is like fucking sweet. This is great. And yeah, man, shout out to all my people. You know who you are.
Nah, for sure. And do you have any like closing remarks you'd like to say and all that?
I'm good, man. Yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
All right, yo, Henry, it was a pleasure like tapping all that.
Yeah. Hold on. Reach around. Yeah. Fucking yes, crisp.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure having you on to like share your story and to share like everything else too and all that. And this is Josh, also known as Yashu. This is like the final live stream of the year and like the final episode of the year and all that,
Wow.
So I want to close it off on like an amazing note and all that. I want to thank everyone for watching and throughout the year. You'll definitely like see like a lot more stuff coming in the new year and all that with
New York
as well.
I'm bringing you out there.
Yeah, man. And like I have also episode 64 and 65 that are gonna be released soon, so kind of stay on that and all that, but still in the works. But we have episode 66 and all that. We're on the way to 100, even to 70 and all that. And with your support and your love, like it's like definitely needed. You could access it like everyone all that. For this one, you could actually like watch it like once it's like fully done as well too. Like once you're done like watching it live, you could like watch it full again like once it's like released like in the next minute or so and all that. And yeah, I mean, I hope everyone has like a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that type of stuff too and all that. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. And I just want to say thank you either way too and all that.
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah, man. Nah, for sure.
Right, I gotta shut up.
Yeah, man. We're gonna sign off right now. Happy holidays, everyone.
Sick, man. Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful.